Welcome to Focus on Claims with Ernie Bray, CEO of ACT.
Hey everyone, Ernie Bray here with another episode of Focus on Claims. And today I have an interesting guest, Tony Villa of Insuresoft. He's the CEO. They are a core systems provider. And I wanted to have him on because we're doing some work with you guys. And I think it's a really interesting entrepreneurial story and kind of an exciting story of where the company is headed. So, Tony, great to have you on today.
Hey, thanks, Ernie. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Hey, well, thanks. Hey, tell me a little bit. Who is Tony Villa? Tell us about you.
Well, I guess I would describe myself as the son of a diesel mechanic that's always been naturally inquisitive and a fan of lifelong learning, I guess. And I think when I was growing up, I never dreamed to be in insurance software, but yet here we are. And I'm
I don't think we ever all think we're going to get in this industry, do we? All of a sudden you end up in there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in the insurance software space, dating back to the late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I began my career after grad school in healthcare, of all things.
Oh, wow.
I was doing patient accounting, patient management implementations for Siemens.
Yep.
And really got interested in the software side of the business.
Wow.
And I was doing consulting work, so I was on the road Monday through Thursday, then Friday, and then through the weekend. And I stumbled upon a company called Applied Systems that happened to be in my backyard here in south suburbs of Chicago. And as I got to know them a little bit more, it felt like there might be a good fit, despite the fact that I didn't know anything about property and casualty insurance, but I was assured, hey, it's all third-party reimbursement. You can figure it out, right? Just like healthcare. So I started with Applied back in the late 90s. I was initially the director of their carrier systems product. Applied had two divisions, the agency management division, which was kind of their bread and butter, and then also a relatively new group called the insurance carrier division that had a flagship product called Diamond. I was with Applied for a while, eventually became the EVP of product management and marketing, and was part of the management team that sold Applied to Vista Equity Partners way back in 2004. As part of that transaction, we were spun out as the carrier division, really operating as a standalone business. It was a different set of challenges, no longer part of, at that time, I think Applied was about a $120 million company. And when we were spun out, we were about a $5 million company. Same people, same intellectual property, same customers, and just a great challenge. So I was excited to be offered the opportunity to become the CEO of Insuresoft, which again was the former operating division of Applied.
So you got into that position then, and you were now the CEO, and you're obviously a smaller company at that time. So tell us a little bit about, the Insuresoft. At that time, what were you guys doing and how you're sort of transforming?
Yeah, so at that time, I think we were still quite young and figuring things out. We were a core systems provider and really kind of a one-trick pony in the sense that we had a policy, billing, and claims solution. It was all tightly integrated, and that was largely what we did for personal lines companies. So when we started back in 2004, the goal was, how do we diversify the business? How do we modernize the platform and make ourselves a bit more appealing to a wider audience? So I think the first set of tasks that we took on were diversifying the product offering. So we built out product portals, so an agency portal, consumer portal, mobile became more important as we went on, as well as data warehouse and data marts. So it really started to round out our product offering. And then we looked at how do we make these standalone modules so that they're easier to implement if somebody wanted to implement only a claim system or a policy and billing solution. So we decoupled the solution. And then lastly, we partnered with one of our long-term clients to build out commercial lines. We had primarily been focused on personal lines. So we had a great opportunity with a strong partner to build out commercial lines. And I think that, along with migrating the platform to .NET, really helped kind of position us to be what I describe today as core and more.
So what would you say, like if a client was choosing, they're out there on the market and they're looking for a core systems provider or, a solution like yours, what would you say is a differentiator that you at Insuresoft are trying to do and really you feel that separates you from, other companies when somebody has a choice? Because I know everybody has choices out there. What is that differentiator you'd say?
Sure. I think the landscape has changed tremendously over the years. When you think about core systems, way back when we first began, being able to perform an out-of-sequence endorsement and showing people what the deck page looked like and the rating calculations, those are all kind of oohs and ahs. But
Hmm.
as the technology has improved and the level of sophistication by insurers and trying to personalize products, I think there's been a commoditization to a certain degree of core systems products. So now everybody has the basic blocking and tackling. It's really about how open is your system and how easy is it to connect to third-party partners as part of the insurance value chain. So the open architecture, RESTful APIs, being able to quickly integrate with new insurtech vendors as well as incumbent solutions is really important and a differentiator for us today. But I would also add that we have 100% implementation success rate. I think that's another real distinguishing characteristic for our group. Once we start with a carrier or an MGA, we really feel strongly that we can get them live. So speed to value and kind of post-production certainty, I guess, is the way to describe it. Has really helped us. And I think our people have a unique ability to kind of move between the insurance side of the business and the technology component. So having a repeatable process and being able to decipher what a client is seeking within the core functionality and getting it configured quickly for their use has really enabled us to be well positioned to continue to deliver for insurers of all sizes. I think our client base really spans the continuum. We have startup MGAs all the way to some of the largest insurance carriers and brokers on the planet. So I think our solution really has the ability to kind of scale up or scale down based on what the client needs.
So it's a good fit then. And so we know I've seen a lot of, there's startup carriers out, they're just getting their feet wet, they're getting funding. So that's a fit that you guys can work with as well then. Is that right? Like
it
various
is.
sizes.
The litmus test for us is we have a prospect who understands what it is they're looking for, and they're willing to kind of take the solution that we have out of the box to a certain degree, and then work with us to build out, maybe the components that might be unique to them. But I think the clients that really do well with us are the ones that understand the business of insurance and really understand what it is they want from a core system. Those are the ones that really seem to go live quickly and have been long-term clients with us.
So this kind of goes in the aspect what you were talking about a little bit earlier, and you were saying that where Insuresoft was and what you're seeing more about partnerships and where the company was going and where it's heading. Do you see a lot more where like ourselves and you and other companies, there's that more API, the more integration or capabilities to work with other platforms is becoming more of an important feature that customers want these days? Do you see that?
Absolutely. I think if you look over the course of the last, probably even just 5 years, but maybe longer, the old mantra was, if we don't have it, we'll build it for that particular client. So I think a lot of vendors were trying to figure out how they could be everything to everybody. Yep. And the speed in which things are changing has really reshaped the way people think about functionality that extends your core product. And now we recognize you don't really have to be everything to everybody. We really should focus on what we do best and partner with folks that have a very specialized product offering. So that change in mindset, along with the improvements in technology and the ease in which we can integrate, has certainly created kind of this ecosystem that everybody talks about.
It's funny you say that, because I've written some articles about that last year, and that's what I'm really seeing across the board too as well. It's about really the partnerships and companies working together, because a lot of companies or insurance companies out there, they have some defined things they want. And by companies such as ours working together, you can really help those clients achieve what they're looking for. And one thing I've encountered too is I see some startups, we've talked to in the past, and they're out there trying to figure out how do they get going to build a claims solution. It's easy in the idea to start an insurance company. Hey, I'm going to start this new insurance company that does, all these little features out there that, everything's different. Drive by mile, drive by this. But when it comes down to it, you got to be able to have something that can manage the whole process for you. And I think when I see people say, I'm going to go it alone, I'm going to build my own claim system. What are are there any downfalls you see when people try to go out there and they spend money and they try to build something and realize, hey, you know what, why not try to work with somebody that already has something out there?
Yeah, I think it's always been a question, right? The buy versus build.
Yep.
I think people have kind of shifted their thinking a bit in terms of what they're looking to build. They're looking to build things that are very narrowly focused and not necessarily an entire claims module, because it doesn't make a ton of sense when you see how many vendors are in the space today that are in production with clients that have, great technology. It really begs the question, is that the best use of my capital to go and build or attempt to build a better mousetrap? So I think the pitfalls are fairly common. We always talk about technology projects in general tend to have a high potential to run longer than expected, to cost more, scope creep. So I think those are things that folks that are just getting into the space often find out once they start heading down that path. And maybe it's at that point that they pivot and start looking at, okay, maybe I don't need the core claim system, but it's only a first notice of loss capability that I'm interested in building. So I think those narrowly defined projects that, again, extend the capability of core systems, those are great partnerships for us.
Yes. So, I know you guys got acquired in, I think it was late 2019 and partnered with Volaris. Tell us a little bit about that whole process, or, what happened and where it's going to help the company.
Yeah, it was interesting. We weren't really looking for a transaction. We have had a tremendous amount of success over the past few years. We've not only grown Insuresoft, but we also started two sister companies. So Red Hawk is a systems integration company that we began largely to help fulfill some of our implementation project work for Insuresoft customers. And I think the pleasant surprise there was not only were we able to do work on behalf of Insuresoft, but we also were beginning to do projects outside of Insuresoft. So again, building some capacity in terms of resources and subject matter expertise was part of the plan for Red Hawk, and that was back in 2016. And based on the success of Red Hawk, we also started down the path of building out a BPO, business process outsourcing group in Covenir. And really what we found, Ernie, was the Insuresoft clients, long-lasting, deep relationships. Oftentimes they would come to us for things that weren't necessarily tied to core, and in some instances they were fairly closely aligned. So, for example, with the systems integration work is obvious in terms of the support and maintenance, but on the print side for BPO, the fact that Insuresoft facilitates print on behalf of their insurer clients, it made it an easy introduction to BPO. So we had successfully kind of grown the Insuresoft business as well as these two sister companies, and had started kind of down a path of a portfolio, if you will. And we were also working on building out the next company in Caboodle, which was a data initiative for us. So we were making great success. We were doing all of this kind of on our own, self-funding, and along comes Volaris. I had, like all other core systems vendors, I think, I was getting hit routinely by private equity groups and folks interested in acquiring. But a lot of times when I spoke to different groups, they didn't really understand insurance. They had a thesis or they liked the space, but they didn't really understand the business of insurance. And when I spoke with Mike Dufton, who heads up the portfolio for the insurance and benefits group within Volaris, it was clear he understood the business and really liked what we were doing. Mike was the former CEO at Majesco, and had some very strong convictions about kind of the direction of where insurance was headed. And he said, look, we'd really like to have you guys become part of the team. We already have some existing insurance assets, And our goal is to build out an even bigger portfolio. And we like to be $1 billion company in about 10 years. So we had a strong growth mandate. So we kept talking, and ultimately that process led to us getting comfortable with Valaris and the team and the integration approach, as well as the post-transaction strategy. And as you mentioned, it was consummated in November of 2019. I'm happy to say that everybody that was with me as far as the senior leadership team pre-close is with me post-close. We had a strong management group, really well positioned for people like Terry Brown, Jeff Brown, Steve Adams, Dave Squibb. They were all kind of presidents of the different sister companies. So they've been given this great opportunity to kind of take and lead their businesses going forward in what we call vertical business units in the Valaris world. And it gave me a great opportunity to look at not just continuing to oversee the businesses, but to get more involved in M&A. So finding like-minded people and companies that can help us continue to build out our product and solution set.
That's awesome.
So that's what I've been focused on.
That's awesome. So when you look back, now I want to switch a little bit over to what, some of the entrepreneurial side, because, you know the vision of where you're going with the company and where you guys started out. And a lot of times as an entrepreneur, you think back and you go, wow, I can't believe I've come from point A to point Z already. And a lot of people just see what you are now. Like you've got the Valaris helping, accelerate growth and take it to the next level. But take me back. This is for entrepreneurs out there. These are for people maybe in the industry. They're looking to get in the industry. They're starting out. Take us, we all hear the good times. I want to hear a little bit about some struggles that you had in the younger years. So tell me a little bit about some of the things you overcome that people don't realize out there, to make a name for yourself in this industry, for Insuresoft.
Yeah, absolutely. So the struggles are real. I think the biggest challenge for us in the early days was, how do we work on the business and not in the business? We were a very small group of individuals that were kind of working to deliver on behalf of our clients. So a lot of times we focused on the tactical, and that was how do we deliver implementation A, B, C, and how do we find the right people to bring on board? So it was a balancing act between customer management and in trying to figure out how we scale the business. So when I talked about the diversification that we did, I think it was longer than I would have liked to get some of those new products to market. It was a bit of trial and error to a certain degree, because we were doing a lot of the work internally. We never outsourced any of that build out. We were trying to work with partners like Microsoft to help kind of guide us and avoid some of the setbacks. But I think that that's always the real struggle early on, is meeting customer expectations and exceeding customer expectations, while also looking further out to figure out how you want to scale the business. So I think those are some of the high level challenges that we faced. And I think there's the typical challenges that smaller companies face in terms of, how do I get an HR department so I've got, policies, procedures, and start to mature my company? How do I look at security and developing into a SOC 2 level compliant company? How do I meet those obligations? So a lot of those kind of bigger ticket projects beyond kind of the product roadmap, I think are a real struggle for people when you're balancing a small number of resources, because you're self-funding. I think that was the other key. We were very intent on, not taking outside capital. We really wanted to kind of both grow top line, but also have profitable growth. And weaving in initiatives really kind of forced us to think about how we prioritize those and tackle the ones that we felt were near term and could be aligned with our customer base.
So what would you say then for somebody that's maybe a new startup company, not in the core system space, but just in the technology space? What advice would you give them when they're just trying to get in? How do they start to get their name out, you think? What would be some ways to, try to elevate their visibility in an industry that's, it's pretty relationship based, and you have to kind of take some time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best approach, especially now in the COVID era, is to partner with incumbents and others to develop kind of brand awareness. So being part of an ecosystem, part of somebody's partner network, and allowing that kind of brand awareness to happen organically. I think it's hard just to go out and most folks don't have the capital to successfully do kind of brand campaigns. Those are always difficult to justify if you're a startup. But leveraging your partner network, certainly lots of activity in social media to raise your profile. But I really think it happens naturally when you've got a client that will tell your story for you. Mm-hmm. We've always said that our best salespeople aren't the ones that we hire, but instead our clients. We want prospects talking with clients because I think they do a much better job. No offense to Josh and the team, but I think they do a much better job telling our story than even we do. So I think those customer proof points are absolutely essential. And even if it's just a pilot and somebody can kind of talk about the great work that you've done and being able to deliver and kind of meet expectations, I think those are the ones that you really want to get behind and kind of promote.
I think that's some really good points. I really think if you're an InsureTech starting out there, Tony just gave you some really good points. That's the key. You got to be patient and you got to try to really build those relationships out there, because that's what the industry is. So as we're getting ready to wrap up here, I'm going to continue on the entrepreneurial side here.
Sure.
As CEO, I'm a CEO. We do this. A lot of people say, okay, that these are the people that are running the company. I'd like to know, is there anything that you did at Insuresoft that people wouldn't really expect a CEO to do, like in the trenches of the early days of doing things? I mean, like a lot of times people will be surprised. Like I will pick up the phone and call customers, like even adjusters, just to check in. And I don't say who I am at first, but just to say, how's the service going? How's it, do this? I'll take phone calls. I'll do things to help, the staff out, even when we're in the younger years, doing the things to help the company grow. Are there some things that you did at Insuresoft that people would be maybe surprised that you would be doing as a CEO that, you may not do now because you put people in those places, but that'd be interesting that an entrepreneur would realize you got to wear many hats.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the leaner days, the many hats theory is 100% correct. I think the best example I can give is we had a large customer with a big deliverable that was absolutely crucial for us. Mm-hmm. And the amount of testing that we had to do to make sure it was successful was quite honestly beyond the scope of resources that we had. So I remember kind of rolling up my sleeves, being in the office and doing testing side by side with our group, and really everybody in the company at a certain point was working on kind of warboard testing, building policies, and all that fun stuff. Not just during the week, but we also had people coming in on the weekends. So the fact that you're doing things that you're asking others to do things that you're willing to do yourself, and showing the team that you're not just delegating, you're also kind of working side by side with them is something that I think is natural to most entrepreneurs. And we see this with our customers as well. We always get great results when we have people from our team sitting side by side working with clients, because I think they get a better appreciation for just how much we care about their success.
I agree. That mentality is when you're willing to get in there, that shows the clients that you care, because you got to take that personal touch. So, Tony, it's been great having you on, and I love the insight you've given and hearing about the Insuresoft story. So as we close here, tell us, if, somebody's interested in a core system and finding out more about Insuresoft, let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you or anybody in your team and how they can find Insuresoft.
Absolutely. It's easy, insuresoft.com, or you can email me directly and I can get you in touch with the right folks. And I'm tony.villa@insuresoft.com.
Hey, it was, like I said, it was great having you on, and we're looking forward. I know we have some integrations that we do with you guys, and we're looking forward to the future on that and helping our mutual customers. And it was great having you on today.
Thanks again for having me. This was really fun. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
This has been Focus on Claims with Ernie Bray, President and CEO of ACD.